And that was the moment I realized this wasn't just about his past anymore. This is how it all started. At first, I thought it was nothing. Everyone has a past. Everyone has someone they used to love before moving on. So when Adrian mentioned his ex the first time, I didn't think much of it. We were out at dinner, laughing about something random when he casually said, "My ex used to love this place." I smiled like it didn't matter. Because it shouldn't have mattered. Everything between us still felt new. Exciting. Adrian was everything I thought I wanted. Confident, attentive, expressive. The kind of man who made you feel seen, at least in the beginning. But then it happened again. And again. And again. Little comments started slipping into conversations like they belonged there. My ex used to cook this better. My ex never complained about things like that. You actually remind me of her sometimes. That one stayed with me longer than I expected. Not because it sounded harsh, but because of how easily he said it. Like it was normal. Like it was something I should be okay with. Initially, I laughed it off. I told myself I was overthinking. That maybe he just spoke without filtering his thoughts. That it didn't mean anything deeper. But slowly, something inside me started to shift. Because it wasn't just that he mentioned her. It was how often he did it. How casually her name came up. How present she still felt in his life. Even though she was supposed to be in his past. And without realizing it. I started to feel like I wasn't the only woman in the relationship. At some point, it stopped feeling harmless. It stopped being just stories. And turned into something else. Comparisons. Subtle at first. Easy to ignore if I wanted to. You know, she handled things like this better. I think you overthink too much. She was more relaxed. I just feel like she understood me. Every time he said things like that, I felt it. Not loudly. Not immediately. But it stayed. Like something quietly sinking under my skin. I tried not to react. I didn't want to be that girl. The insecure one. The one who turns everything into a problem. So I smiled. He nodded. Let it pass. But inside, it didn't pass. Because no matter how calmly he said it, it always meant the same thing. Backhand index pointing right, I wasn't enough. And the worst part, he didn't even seem to notice what he was doing. Or maybe he just didn't care. I started paying attention to everything. The way his voice softened when he talked about her. The way he smiled at certain memories. The way he never spoke about us like that. One night, we were watching something together, and I laughed at a scene. He looked at me and said, almost absent-mindedly, "She used to laugh like that." Something in me dropped. Not shattered. It just dropped. Because suddenly, I didn't feel seen anymore. I felt compared. Measured. Replaced by a memory. And for the first time, I started asking myself something I didn't want to admit. Was I building something new with him? Or just living in something he never let go of? I never thought I'd become that person. The one who compares herself to someone who isn't even there anymore. But it happened slowly. So slowly, I didn't even realize it at first. I started remembering everything he said about her. What she liked. How she acted. The way she responded to things. And without even noticing, I started adjusting myself. The way I dressed. The way I reacted. Even the way I spoke sometimes. It wasn't obvious. But it was exhausting. Because I wasn't just being myself anymore. I was trying to be better than someone I had never met. One night, he fell asleep next to me with his phone still in his hand. I stared at it for a long time. My heart was racing. I knew I shouldn't touch it. I knew that. But I needed to know if I was imagining everything. So I picked it up. At first, it looked normal. Messages, notifications, nothing unusual. Then I saw her name. The same name I had heard too many times. My fingers paused, then I opened it. And what I saw was worse than I expected. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't flirty. It was worse. He was telling her everything. About me. Our arguments. My insecurities. Even things I trusted him with. And she was laughing. Replying. Comparing me to herself. And he didn't stop it. He joined in. In that moment, everything changed. I didn't confront him right away. I couldn't. Not because I was scared, but because I needed time to understand what I had just seen. For days, I carried it with me. The messages. The jokes. The way he talked about me like I wasn't even there. I replayed everything in my head. Every comment. Every comparison. Every moment I doubted myself. And suddenly, it all made sense. It was never just about his ex. It was about how little he respected me. Instead of protecting me, he exposed me. Instead of choosing me, he kept choosing someone from his past. And instead of being honest, he made me feel like I was the problem. One evening, we sat in silence. He was on his phone like everything was normal. Like nothing had changed. But everything had. I looked at him, really looked at him. And for the first time, I saw the truth clearly. This wasn't love. Because love doesn't make you feel like you have to compete. Love doesn't make you question your worth. Love doesn't turn your vulnerability into something to laugh about. And that was the moment I knew something had to change. Not him. Not the relationship. Me. Because I couldn't keep pretending this was okay. When I finally said something, my voice surprised me. It was calm. Too calm. Do you still talk to her? He barely looked up. Who? Your ex. He sighed like I was being dramatic. Sometimes it's not a big deal. I looked at him. It is when you tell her everything about me. That made him look up. Did you go through my phone? And of course. That was his focus. Not what he did, but how I found out. You shared things I trusted you with. You're overreacting. No, you were laughing about me. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? A silence. Then he said it. At least she understands me. And just like that, everything ended. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just clearly. Because in that moment, I realized something I couldn't ignore anymore. I was never his first choice. Not emotionally. Not mentally. Not even privately. And once you realize that, there's nothing left to hold on to. Leaving wasn't dramatic. There was no final argument. No begging. No attempt to fix things. Because I was done trying. I had spent too much time trying to be enough for someone who had already decided I was. And that realization changed everything. I packed my things slowly. Not just clothes, but pieces of myself. The version of me that kept adjusting. The version that kept trying harder. The version that forgot her own worth. And when I finally walked out, it didn't feel like loss. It felt like relief. Weeks passed. Then months. And slowly, I started finding myself again. Not the version he compared. Not the version I tried to become. The real version of me. The one that didn't need validation to feel enough. Then one day, he texted me. I miss you. I stared at it for a long time. Because once, that would have meant everything. But now, it meant nothing. Because I finally understood something I wish I knew earlier. I was never competing with his past. I was losing myself, trying to prove I was better than it. And now that I had myself back, there was nothing left to prove.